What's up, guys? Nostalgic Grow here, back with another finds video. In this video, it's not really a finds video. I didn't have to go out to find these things here. These are actually some things that I've received. People knowing that I'm a collector. They've decided that, hey, we want to give these to you, and the one is through some friends. The other one is through a coworker, and I think it just goes to show of just being nice and helping people out. There's reward in that in return, and so that's what this whole video is just things that I've received from these people, just for helping them out, or just simply being friendly person in general to work with my coworker. So up first, I helped my buddy out from college. I DJ'd his wedding, and I did no charge or anything. I just said, I'm just one of those type of guys at weddings that, I generally don't like other DJs. And I'd rather just be doing it because I'm not a dancer myself. So I usually I'm like, hey, if I can help you out, I'll DJ your wedding or something like that. So anyway, totally didn't expect this, but one day in the mail, I received 2 games, and just it blew me away. And they were just like, thanks for doing this. It was actually his parents that sent them, and I was just I couldn't believe it. And so with that, the 2 games were Mega Man 4 and 6. So yeah, I was completely blown away by it. Totally didn't expect it, and I mean, it just means a lot to me that they did that, and totally didn't have to. I enjoyed my time out there, and doing the DJing. So, but thank you for that. And yeah, now I have those 2 games to my collection, which, I mean, my collection as a whole, as you've seen in my videos, I don't have a ton of big name games. I'm not the type of guy that to go drop that money on it. If I can come across it or some situation happens, so for them to go out and buy those type of games for me, those expensive games, as you can tell, I'm just kind of at a loss for words. I really appreciate it. And then my coworker was getting ready to retire. She has a big house by herself, and she's clearing it out. She still has all of her son's stuff there, and her 2 sons, and she's been kind of clearing their stuff out, and they're just like, yeah, kind of do whatever you want with it, mom. And she's been asking me, she's like, I keep coming across these things, and they were kind of, geeky, nerdier back, 20 some years ago when they were young. And so she's been bringing in a lot of items, mainly like comic book stuff. Is like, hey, how much is this? They really thought this would be worth something. And I mean, I'm not a comic book collector, but I've been able to help her out, looking up on eBay and just being like, yeah, sorry, like, no, none of this stuff is really worth anything. But she kept mentioning about like, oh, I keep coming across some games and stuff like that. I'm like, well, you know me, like, bring the games. I'll make a deal with you. And yeah, so the first set of games that she brought into me, she was just like, well, I have a Final Fantasy game for the PlayStation. And I was like, oh, let it be Final Fantasy 7, one of the better titles there. And she was like, and then there's a football game. I'm like, okay, the football game's not really worth anything. And so she finally brought him in, and it was actually Final Fantasy 9, which I have a copy of already, and NCAA Football 99. And so I was like, oh yeah, football games aren't worth anything. Final Fantasy 9 is not really worth anything. Pretty common game. And she was just like, well, I'll tell you what, for all your help you've been doing, you can keep them. And I was like, oh, okay, well, thanks. That's cool. And then she's like, I'm gonna have some more games I'll bring in too. And so she finally brought in some other games. She's like, I have some N64 games for you to look at. So I was like, all right, cool, let's take a look at those. And she actually then revealed that she had like a Super Nintendo game in there as well. And so first up with that, she was like, well, I have this like Tremor pack. And I was like, yeah, well, not worth a whole lot, but yeah, Tremor packs. And then she's like, and then I have the Game Shark for the N64, which I hadn't come across yet out in the wild. So I kind of like these. So I've never tried the Game Shark on the 64, but I was like, all right, that's cool. And then she's like, and here's the other games that I have. Well, the first one, the Super Nintendo game, is Troy Aikman Football, which personally, I love this game. I had this game as a kid. It was one that my brother and I spent many, many hours on. I've talked about before when I got the Genesis version. So for her to have this game as part of that group, I was just like, wow, okay, that is awesome. Like, this game right here means more to me than a lot of the other games I'm going to show you. But to have that for the Super Nintendo now is awesome. Really happy about that, even though it's not worth anything. And then for the 64 games, you had South Park Rally, and yeah, this one I do have in my collection already too. But she was just kind of interested because we talk about South Park a lot at work, and so she was kind of interested in checking that out. So I showed her some gameplay footage, and then finally she had a Banjo-Kazooie. And so yeah, so I gave her an offer and well above what I would normally offer somebody, and then we just worked out a deal, and and then she's like, all right, I do have some more games that I'll bring into you, and she was like, there were Game Boy games and stuff, and so I was like, okay, we'll take a look at it. And then she brings in on one day. Oh, actually, before I get ahead of myself, let me backtrack a little bit. She was also talking about all these VHS tapes that she had at her house. And I was like, yeah, I don't really do VHS anymore. I have some, but whatever. But she just randomly brought them into me. And she was like, here, you can just have these because I know they're not worth anything. And but there's actually some cool stuff in here, like Star Wars Episode 1, which I already have on VHS. But that's cool. And then the Star Wars trilogy on the THX re-release. And then Batman Forever on VHS. And then a couple of Star Trek titles. Star Trek Generations, Wrath of Khan, and First Contact. So I thought that was pretty cool as a whole, especially since she's just giving them to me. I have no idea how the quality of the VHS is held up, but still cool titles to add in there. And then now getting back to the Game Boy stuff. So she brought in these two cases, and she's like, I got some stuff in here for you. So we opened them up, and up first here was a Game Boy, if I can pull it out, a Game Boy Color, the yellow one, and then in it was Pokemon Blue, which I already had, but that's okay. And she was like, yeah, we got these, and they were all corroded, but I cleaned them out, and I was like, yeah, that works. So that was cool. And then she also showed me, or with the other case then, she had a yellow Game Boy, another yellow Game Boy, and actually that was a color, so this is the Pocket, the smaller one. And then in that case, there was two Zelda titles, actually the exact same, well, not the exact same game. Both of them are the Link's Awakening, but one is the DX version, which I didn't have the DX version. I had the other one. So we, again, made a really good deal on that. And, she was like, I think I have some more stuff that I'll bring in for you. And so I was like, okay, sounds good. And then she brought in this bag that I was like, holy cow. And then again, we made another deal because all this stuff, I didn't want to see her going to a store and getting ripped off. So I gave her a good deal and above that. But she brought in then the Game Shark box there, and then a Game Boy AC adapter to go with. I'm not sure if it goes with the Pocket. Yeah, for the Pocket. And then let's see here. And then she brought in the Pocket box. And most of these are pretty much mint. I wouldn't necessarily say pretty much mint, but I mean, they're in really good condition. And let's see here. And then there's this gigantic thing of a Handy Pack Color. It's one of those all-in-one systems where the whole entire thing is set up. You got your mirror and speakers and all this other stuff. I'm not doing something right there. There we go. Yeah, and then a little joystick on there. So I haven't attached this to the system, but I had something similar for my Game Boy Advance. So anyway, got that, and then the Game Boy Color box, which that looks like it might be missing something. I'm not for sure, but have that in there. And then this is where I was kind of like, whoa, seriously, you have these two? And that was the boxes for Legend of Zelda and the DX, and these boxes are in really, really good shape. For the Pokemon Blue, and CIB, by the way. And then she couldn't find the game, but I have the game, and that is Legend of Zelda Seasons. So I have it now. Actually, this is the second box I have for it because I kept my original. And then finally, she only told me she had the game, but then she found this as well, which I'm really confused based off of what I could find. Either this is worth a ton of money or it's not really worth a whole lot, just nobody's really bought it in a while. But that is Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy, complete in box. Now, I could find that the game itself is only worth about $10, $15, but with the box, I was coming across like 150, 200 bucks. And I don't know. I don't know if that is an accurate number or what, or if it's just mainly nobody has purchased it in a long time, so the number's just kind of distorted. But either way, really cool to add these titles into my collection, especially complete in box. And like I said, all this stuff, I mean, she gave me an awesome deal on it just simply because we were coworkers, and she was just like, I don't care, and the stores are probably going to rip me off anyway on the resale value. And I tend to agree with that, especially since they're just going to be like, oh yeah, it's not really worth anything, and then jack the price up themselves. So yeah, so to get all that in there, again, this was all just because of simple having a good relationship with people. And I think that's key when you're out there and you're being a collector is, just being nice and letting people know too that you do collect. Because I see on some Facebook forums and stuff like that, I see these guys that they are very clearly just in it for the reselling, and they always have these awesome games that they're giving away, and they're always just like, no low balls, you'll be blocked, blah blah blah, and they sound like idiots, to be completely honest. I mean, I think that's the one thing that's important with all this is just being nice, being humble, and you'd be amazed what you get in return for doing that. So anyway, that's my finds that I have here for this month. No idea what things are going to be bringing next. I haven't really had a chance to go out like I would like to. I'm trying to get a few other things going, but hopefully once the garage sale season starts kicking in, I'll be able to take advantage of that and find some good stuff. But until then, what have you guys been finding? Please like and subscribe below, and I'll talk to you next time.